Apologize.
Oh, thank you, Jeremy. Hi.
How is London treating you both?
Really well.
Excellent.
Really well.
Good.
Hi.
Thank you.
How's everybody doing?
I think we're good.
You're all hungover. Listen to you guys.
You guys.
Let me ask you a question about Arrival and about the script for Arrival, because what I'm wondering is how quickly, on having that script in your hands, you realised that this was not just what we might call the typical sci-fi movie.
I realized really quickly, just in the way that it opened. I mean, the first 5 pages of something can usually keep me reading or make me close the script. And this one begged me to keep going, just because of what they showed me of the character. And then getting to the end of it, I had to go back and immediately reread it again, knowing what I knew. And so it's been it was wonderful to read and wonderful to work on. Yeah.
Jeremy, how about you? I mean, this is not the usual Alien movie.
No, I don't think so, by any means is it. To me, it didn't even read like, I didn't ever wonder what the aliens were like, or it was such an insular story told through Amy's character's eyes that I didn't even think about those things until then you get to the end, and you got to reread the thing, and then what Denis does with the movie makes it this giant, big, beautiful, global film. But to me, it read like a really beautiful little drama.
Sure. I mean, Amy, Louise is a phenomenally intelligent character, and I wonder how rare it is, and also then how pleased you were to find this female character at the centre of the movie, who is so incredibly smart.
Well, I think sometimes females are written that they're smart in the description, but then they don't have anything smart to say or do. So the fact that she actually gets to be smart, not just act smart, is awesome. And also that, she's acting not only with her intelligence that she's acquired, but also her instinctual and instinctive intelligence. So that was also fun to get to play.
I mean, another big part of the character is obviously motherhood, and I wonder whether that was something that you had a particular connection with.
Absolutely. And when I spoke with Denis, that was the thing that kind of let me know that he was on the same page. He saw what I saw in the script. Because we talked about a bunch of other stuff, but at the end of the day, he just said, this is a story about a mother. You start the film by speaking to your daughter, by saying her name. And so that caught me, and I was like, he's gonna protect. Sure. He'll protect this story, sure. and that was important to me.
Jeremy, you've played superheroes, you've played soldiers, but you haven't, as far as I'm aware, you haven't played a physicist before. So
no, that's a new one.
So how was that for you?
It was there's a challenge to it, because it's information that's really not that interesting, zeros and ones and theorems and things like that. So I think the greatest challenge that I came across was how do I, without revealing stuff at the end, I can't talk about that. Let me shift to this way. I don't like to give shit away. It's how do I make this guy human? How do I make this guy interesting? And how do we pass on to the audience? How do I understand, first of all, the material? Then how do we pass on to the audience without losing them with the boring zeros and ones of it all, the binary? So we thought of maybe we make this guy, funny, or just give him a sense of humor at least. And Richard Dreyfuss came into my mind, and Jaws, and sort of his love for sharks. The guy just loves sharks, and maybe this guy's love for, alien and extraterrestrial life and that sort of thing. And just found ways to find humor with the guy, so it became more accessible,
and Amy,
emotionally at least.
How about for you in terms of research? I think I read that Ted Chiang, who wrote the novella that the film was based on, studied linguistics for 4 years before he actually wrote that story. So I'm wondering how...
I did not.
Okay, I wondered.
Before I played Louise. No, I mean, what is fascinating is, for me, when I started looking into linguistics, I assumed that it was sort of like a translator or somebody who just knew a lot of languages. And she's like, no, I'm actually not an interpreter or a translator. When I spoke to the linguist, she's like, I go in and I study the cultures around the language and how the language was formed and processed. And once it became sort of anthropological and sociologically relevant, then I felt like I really identified with that part of the character, because so much of what linguistics does feel very mathematical, which is the way you break down a language, and that's just not my wheelhouse at all. Like the zeros and ones, just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But but that really spoke to me, and that was really fascinating to get to sort of learn about.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things as a viewer that's so extraordinary about the film is it has a strange sense of calm and sort of grace over it. And I wonder, I mean, movie sets aren't famous for being calm places, so I wonder, with Arrival, what was the set like?
It was very peaceful, which is weird. It's really weird to have it be so quiet and so contained and
civil. And I brought my I don't bring my daughter because I don't think sets, I think they're places for grown-ups. And so,
yeah, we both brought our kids.
yeah,
to
so
the set.
my daughter came. She's very quiet, so it works. But
And Denis had his kids
yeah,
on set
we just,
working. And
yeah, she would hang out and it just was calm. It was a very lovely environment.
Yeah.
And in terms of working with Denis, I mean, how familiar were you both with his films? And I mean, so was the attraction the script or Denis or both?
Well, it started as the script. I wasn't as familiar with his work before I read the script. This was, I signed on to this while he was still had films going to be released. It was, he had Sicario
Yep.
and this, and he was deciding which one to do first. And so it was quite some time ago. So in the period of time,
Oh, you were on that long ago, huh?
I was, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I agreed to do it when I met him. Like, it was basically, I read the script, met him, and it's one of those things where usually I go and talk to people about it, but I kind of gave him my word in the room.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, no, we're going to do this. I don't know when or how, but we're going to do this.
And then you were as good as your word. So.
Yes, well, yes, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be a part of it.
And Jeremy, how about you?
I was very, very familiar with Denis' work. I've seen all of his films. I was almost a part of one of his, Prisoners. And Sicario, when I came around to this, the Sicario was already done. It just wasn't released yet, so I got to go see that. And again, obviously very impressed with him as a filmmaker. And then meeting him, I mean, he's just a charming, lovely, smart, emotionally intelligent dude that I decided to go work with. But I mainly did the movie because of my relationship with Amy. And where I thought the story was great, and I thought it was a great role for Amy. And ultimately, you know, what's lacking in Hollywood is roles like that for, you know, actresses of this caliber. And instead of being victims a lot of times, leading women are like victimized somehow, some way. And they're great movies, but I just thought this was a fantastic script that shows a leading woman as a smart, she's a superhero, man. She saves the world, right? And I think that's just a fantastic thing. And all the qualities of that I think women are badass that I grab from my mom and my sisters are kind of what her character is. You know, this emotional intelligence, this Mother Earth, this sort of how she can command. She can get shit done with just being a woman. She's compassionate and tolerant. You know what I think. You know what separates men from women is that sort of compassion gene, if you will. You know?
Sure. Let me ask one more question before I throw things open, which is the heptapods have this obviously this incredible visual presence, and the way both of you interact with them is such a key part of the movie. But I'm wondering, at the time you were filming, did you actually know what Denis had in mind for visually how they were going to look?
Yeah, we kind of knew they're like squid-looking things, right?
They showed us sort of
Then they're
conceptual
big.
drawings.
Yeah, he kept saying like they're big. They're like big elephants or something.
Yeah.
It's like, right?
Yeah, he's like, you cannot see them all. They will arrive to the screen. He's French-Canadian, and I love to do his accent. So they were puppeteers, and they stood behind the big white screen for us and sort of ran around as Denis directed. And,
Yeah, I mean that's just as alien as like you know an alien would be. So
Yeah.
all you see is a dude leotards, a big long 40-foot stick with a fuzzy ball on the end of it, and they're like touching
Yeah.
the screen and moving like this.
Yeah, but
It's
Denis was
mesmerizing.
really helpful too with sort of figuring that out. But yeah.
Perfect. I've monopolised the conversation, I know. I will endeavour to get around to everyone. Hand went up very quickly in here.
Hi, good afternoon, guys. I have two questions for both of you. It's cool. I was wondering, how did you both prepare for your respective roles? And when you were on set, how did you get into character?
I mean, preparation is so individual. I mean, you have the conversations with the director, but a lot of the work that I do is done independently, months sometimes before I start working. I don't talk about a lot because then I feel like I'm really long-winded, and you all will get very bored. So it's very detailed. And then when I get into character, it was weird because I talk about it often, but I knew when I started to have a stomach ache that I was where I needed to be to play Louise. I had a stomach ache all summer, so yeah.
You're recovered now, though.
Yes, no stomach ache today, which is good.
Good.
Which is really good. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's different for every movie. This one was prepping with the director, trying to find an entry point into this guy and not make him just what his job is. And, you know, like I said before, coming up with some sort of way in that humanizes him, because, again, this stuff I got to talk about, but we had to steer away from a lot of stuff, but still make him a human being and not just this guy that, you know, could just be socially inept, you know, because he's all in math and science and his head's up in the stars. So it's just finding ways to make it humorous and some sort of character stuff. And then, I don't know, you kind of day by day, kind of learn and grow. And, you know, you got Amy at your side, you kind of can swing for the plate, you know.
Good question here. Yes.
Hi. I think the film's really interesting just in this moment in time, particularly the kind of question that the American people are going to have in a few months, given the kind of politics, the suggested politics of the film. I'm just wondering, did you guys discuss that on set? Like, you know, what this kind of film was saying, and did you have this upcoming election in mind when Denis was discussing?
I don't think anybody had this election in mind a year ago. This is no, we didn't really talk about that. I mean, the politics were sort of implied in the script. I think because it is so relevant right now, it really kind of is something that pops out of the film based on sort of what's happened in the past year and 3 months since we finished this or so. The world is a different place than a year ago even. So, yeah, but it's not something that I don't recall. Denis might have acknowledged it with the other filmmakers, but yeah.
And actually, there was a question just in front.
Hi, to Amy. The role of Louise is an incredibly strong part for a woman, and you do it so well.
Thank you.
What challenges did you face when approaching the part, and what did you enjoy most about playing this woman?
Oh, there are so many things I enjoyed. I mean, one of the things, and this is, I mean, it's so base, but it was really just being okay rolling out of bed and going to work. You know what I mean? There were times where Denis really was like less, and it was really freeing. And it kind of, I've played roles where I've sort of lost my vanity before, but this one felt different because she was so intelligent, and I imagine this as a woman without vanity, and that was hugely freeing to me. A lot of my characters have just an innate vanity that we all have as human beings, but she really didn't, and that was really freeing for me, very refreshing to just play a character with no vanity. Yeah.
There's a question here in the second row.
Amy and Jeremy, both of you really, how was it like working with Denis in regards to his method? Did he allow you to ad-lib through the screenplay or what, and did you have any rehearsal time? Thank you.
I don't remember rehearsing, did we?
I read through the script with Denis before you got there,
Oh,
just
yeah,
once.
I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't rehearse.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, he's pretty loose and free. You know, he's very, very Kubrick-like with his sort of frames and his cranes and his shots and that sort of stuff. But he's also very, very focused on what he's actually shooting, spending that time on. It's, you know, her beautiful face and what's going on in her brain. And
Keep him calm.
that's right. That's right. So yeah, I felt like there was always a lot of room for growth, and we were all on the same team together. It wasn't just his movie. Mm-hmm. He was focused on how to shoot it. We didn't care about that. We were just trying to do the characters, find the truth, and keep it going. And he was also very integral in that process as well. But he allowed a lot of freedom in his own way, in his really broken, terrible English. But he's a wonderful human, and he was just an absolute joy to work with.
Yeah.
There's a question here at the front.
So I have two questions for you guys. The first one is, the film was for me about being understood. Do you have any advice for anyone who's struggling to accept those who are different to them?
Wow, it's a big question.
What was the question?
Do we have any advice for those who are struggling to accept those who are different?
Oh, well, you know, practice tolerance, you know, and work towards empathy, then, you know, even shoot for compassion at the end of the day, right?
Yeah,
That'd be the ultimate goal.
and there has to be an openness in the beginning of the conversation. There was a wonderful experiment, I don't know if you guys saw it, where people talked about where people were from, and they had to sit and look at each other, and then you discover that like they had something in common that you wouldn't expect. And I think that's the most amazing thing, is to like really, really look at people and see them as humans, and try to see what we have in common as opposed to what we have to, what keeps us
what
apart.
unites us instead of what divides us.
Yeah.
Was there a second part of the question as well?
Also, if you could see your whole life from start to finish, would you change things yourself?
Wait, I recognize that line. No, I'm kidding. No, not at this point. Yeah. Would you change anything?
Well, if I knew, if I had a crystal ball, if I knew, no, man, I want no part of that. It takes all the fun out of life.
Yeah.
We'll have to leave it with one more question, which is back here. Just keep your hand up.
Hi, I was just wondering if for both of you, if the experience made you more curious about other cultures and worlds within our world, and which one would you love to explore more?
Other cultures.
I don't know if it's made me more curious about it. I've always been a pretty curious dude. I certainly just focused on, with this movie specifically, the takeaway of like, what does unite us and what divides us. And that got me talking and thinking about it a lot. It's a conversation I've been having ever since I saw the movie. Didn't think that was really kind of part of the movie. It's not in the script, but it kind of comes out that way. And the beauty of like, when people unite and this humanity unites, what can actually happen, the beauty that can happen, then ultimately like what happens when we divide. And I always think about, in terms of, I have to think about like, what does unite us? And I think about, I've had many long conversations about it, and I think it's a beautiful conversation to talk about like what, because we're all human, we all have something in common. What is it? Well, language. Language does unite people, but it does divide people as well. Like, I don't speak Italian, but whatever, right? Well, then you go to religion. Religion does unite a lot of people for a common cause, but ultimately every war we've had is a religious sort of difference, sadly. So there's a big division there. So I'm like, what is it that every human being, I don't care if you're a cannibal, if you're wherever the heck, where you live, where you come from, which language you speak, we all have emotion. That's something really quite beautiful. Fear, sadly, is the most powerful human emotion, I believe. But I think that's really interesting to me.
Yeah. I've always been fascinated with other cultures. I'm not a great traveler, which is strange given my don't like flying. But it's interesting with everything. Like I came into the film thinking I was going to leave with something, and what I left with was really about
Me.
Jeremy. No, it's just it was the thing that got me into the film to begin with. It was it's something Louise says is appreciating the moments in between, and like all of these grand things I get to do as an actress is great. But really, if the things that mean the most to me are like teaching my daughter to read, those quiet moments, like the ones that are captured in the flashbacks. Those are the moments, in the way that memory serves as sort of an internal scrapbook in that way, and sort of to be present in those moments. Yeah.
Sadly, we will have to leave it there, I'm afraid. Arrival is released on the 10th of November. If you can stay where you are for now, but in the meantime, please join me in thanking Jeremy Renner and Amy Adams.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey